What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. This is CIS Live Breakfast with the Canes. It's Saturday morning. Obviously, big game tonight. It is FSU Day. I'm sure you guys got a long day planned of tailgating or just sitting in front of the couch, getting ready for this one. We got the man Peter Ariz right here in the home base with extremely nice decor around him, all the Cane memorabilia surrounding him on that wall right there.
Well, not right now, but I had it up when we did the show the other day. I took it down. I'm in the process of setting up an entire media podcast room here, so we will be set in a few weeks here. But is this Justin Renfro, former Canes D tackle here? Appreciate you chiming in, brother. Nice to have you.
Definitely, man. That was one of the original portal kids. So started the trendsetter coming to the University of Miami and helping Miami win some ball games. So shout out to Justin Renfro. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Big day, big recruiting day. We talk game. We can talk keys to the game. Recruiting wise, I did at the bank a couple days ago, just giving the latest in recruiting. We already got a question here. Let's just cut right to the chase. We got Sean there in the nice suit and the Canes hat asking, who are we flipping? I'll tell you who we're trying to flip: Vernell Brown, Dallas Wilson, Ben Hanks, Jarquez Carter, Shamar Arnaud from Carrollton, Georgia, actually originally from South Florida, has family in South Florida, I should say. Ben Hanks, does leave out Ben Hanks, can't leave Ben Hanks out. So a lot of folks that Miami is trying to flip. A lot of people that will be there today in person for this game. It's a huge recruiting day. And Miami's got high hopes and a lot of momentum at the wide receiver position in particular, and with some key targets. So excited to see if Miami can put on a show on the field.
See you out there, Justin. Hey, D, you're slipping. I already got my orange on, man. You got your white tee on. I'm ready to go. It's an orange out today. So
yeah, I had a nice Canes. I had a nice baseball practice. Future Canes center fielder there in Miami Beach. But I'm rocking the Canes connection, letting people know why the talent disparity is so strong on the field. Is this hat right here? Just real quick on the game, some key matchups. I did something for Canes Connection members called 3 Keys to Victory, and I'll just summarize some of the things that jump out. When it comes to the biggest matchup in the game, I really want to focus on the tackles here. Francis Mauigoa, Jalen Rivers, 2 very big, powerful tackles. These guys have athleticism, have finesse, can pass block, but they really are maulers in the run game. I think if you were asked what they're best built for, it is moving guys off the ball. Jalen Rivers, a state shot put champion, 6'6", 325. Francis Mauigoa, I don't even know how big he is these days. He looks like 290, but he's really 330, 335. Maybe more. Extremely explosive and powerful, moving guys off the ball. So that matchup with them and Marvin Jones and Patrick Payton, I think, is key. One thing to keep in mind about FSU's defensive line, we've talked a lot about the guys on the front and they get paid a lot. They've been kind of up and down. Their depth on the defensive line is extremely poor. That is why FSU was forced to pay their players so much in the portal when the existing players threatened to jump in the summer. That's why FSU upped the number so fast, because they had leverage. So FSU's depth on the defensive line is very poor. If Miami can run at those skinny defensive ends, really pound them, make Daryl Jackson work, make Farmer, who's their best defensive lineman, work. The second team is not as strong as the second team for the Miami Hurricanes. That's one key to the game to watch, is how quickly can Miami get to FSU's depth. I think when Miami gets to FSU's defensive line depth, that's when they really are going to take some deep shots down the field, trust their pass protection, and let it rip with Cam Ward, the Heisman frontrunner, after Ashton Jeanty had a good but not great overall performance on Friday.
Sean asked, do you get the sense that FSU's laying down in this game? Look, the fact that it's a rivalry game, you can kind of throw the energy stuff out of the window, I think. But if Miami does get ahead early, I think FSU does quit. So I think it's really important for the Canes to get off to a hot start here. That has not been the case necessarily, at least offensively. They've been good, obviously, in a lot of these early starts of the games. But if the defense can, again, against a bad FSU offense, maybe force a turnover early, get a quick 3 and out, then I think that adrenaline that you get early on in this rivalry game kind of gets sucked out of them a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. And then it's also the depth factor, right? So if you get to the depth's not going to be as good. If the starters are forced to play quite a bit. I think you're going to start to see them sag and quit when the scoreboard goes sideways. The real big concern I have is that these guys go into cheap shot mode and start looking for Cam Ward after the whistle, trying to take out Cam Ward when they do get to the quarterback or they have a chance to hit him late. That to me is my biggest concern, which is why the run game, punishing those defensive ends, simple passes to the tight end, force them to tackle. Their linebackers have been poor in coverage all year. Elijah Lofton, Elijah Arroyo, Miami's two really, really dynamic tight ends, plus Riley Williams. They did not play a huge role in the Louisville game just because of the matchups. Miami was scoring at will. It wasn't a problem in that game, but I could see Miami's tight ends playing a big role today because of FSU's problems at linebacker, covering, just overall discipline. They have some good corners. They have guys that will get drafted. Azariah Thomas will be probably a day 2 draft pick, big corner that can move and turn his hips. They have experienced nickel, experience at the safety position. French Striper's also another experienced corner that'll probably get drafted. So that's going to be their strength. But I think a linebacker, it has been a weakness all year, and they're missing guys. So Lundy, their top linebacker, is out. So I could see Arroyo, Lofton, Riley Williams having big games.
Assad Hussein says, attending my first ever home Canes game. Where can I meet the CIS crew tailgate? I don't think we don't have an official Canes Insight tailgate, but I think maybe somewhere in the green lot, if I'm not mistaken. D, I don't know if I'm correct there. You're more of you've been to more home games this year, but I think the green lot. But then he has a nice follow-up question here. If we take care of business as expected, which QB do you expect to go in first? I would say Emory Williams, because he's played in one game this year, that Ball State game, D, right? And obviously a lot of him not being the first guy out in a lot of these situations has been trying to preserve that red shirt of his. But I think this may not be a bad opportunity. Again, if they get up by 4 or 5 scores late in this game, not 3 or 4, but maybe up by 20 plus, 30 plus late in this game. I think he's probably the guy.
Yeah, revenge game, right? He got injured in a very, really heroic fashion running the ball. That'd be a nice way to kind of get your revenge and announce that you were healthy. But look, I don't get too far ahead of ourselves. This is a game Miami still needs to win. Look, one thing to consider here, guys. If Miami wins this game and Duke beats Southern Methodist, which I think they'll probably be an underdog in that game to win that game. But if they do, you could be looking at a ranked Miami against a ranked Duke. It's funny. We're talking about FSU. We're looking to Duke. But that's just the reality of the records. I think if Miami takes care of business against FSU and then Duke takes care of the SMU, that could be an interesting matchup nationally, especially with the Manny situation. Keep an eye on that situation as it unfolds. But I'm cheering for Duke against SMU for reasons maybe we'll find out down the road. But I'm excited to see what this game brings, and hopefully we get to Emory Williams. That'd be a nice day at the office.
Craig says, I think the Rock will be lit and plays similar to the ND game in 2017. Listen, I agree. I think it's going to be a raucous crowd tonight. I think a lot of Florida State fans have gotten rid of their tickets, maybe who had them earlier in the year. And I just think that this is you hear Mario's comments from a couple years ago where he says the shoe's going to be on the other foot one of these days. And I think this crowd kind of senses that. I think that the crowd's going to be kind of foaming at the mouth, a shark who smells blood in the water. And I agree with that. I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere out there tonight. And look, would love to pounce on them early and have that sort of Notre Dame atmosphere.
No question about it. I think it will be a great atmosphere and a lot of recruits you got to impress. So that is something to consider. By the way, as far as tailgate people asking me, I'll be running around. If you see me with the Canes Insight shirt, shout, say what's up, and I'll be happy to introduce. Man, love seeing everybody. Love meeting people, putting names to faces from the chat and from everything else. So if you see me, don't hesitate. Just say what's up. I'll be sure I'll be there with my kids running around. Martin Dubé, shout out. He's up in Botswana, right? 1 a.m. watching the whole game. We're worldwide here at Canes Insight. Look at this. We got Germany, Boyo and Hamburg. Moin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. P, how's your German?
Not very good. I think
I know it's your club. You watch so much German soccer. I assume you're fluent.
Goal arena, man. Bundesliga goal arena, man. Good times.
Brett Pound asking, what do recruits do pre and post game? the game day visit is interesting because Miami doesn't push the game day visit as much as like a Alabama or a Georgia, places with the big stadiums that are always full, where you really see the best of the school on game day. Miami really likes to showcase the campus, right? And things that are nicer in the winter than maybe other places, as opposed to game days, which aren't as packed. But there's a little bit of tour. It's a little hectic. Obviously, the players and coaches are focused on the game. I know that they take the family a Club Live, which is pretty unique. There's a Club Live section, the same club that is actually right across the street from me here in Miami Beach. They have a partnership with a lounge area in the Hard Rock Stadium. So there's like really nice area, nice seats, drinks, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think the recruits are drinking, but they'll take recruits up there and do it that. Look, so it's a big game. It's a big game for recruiting with all the guys that are on campus and everything else.
Shout out to Brett Pond, man, former great equipment manager at Miami.
Yeah, he would know better than me. What's he asking me for?
Well, listen, he was there during the golden era. A lot has changed in terms of recruiting and things of that nature. So I'll cut him some slack there.
Look at this. We got Germany, Botswana, and now Mexico. Shout out to Grandpa Jim. Go Canes. I Riley Williams, like I said it earlier, I could see him having a big day against these linebackers. So, Pete, I mean, look, I know you talked to a lot of scouts. One of your, you have sources that have deep connections to the FSU program, deep connections to NFL scouting. What's kind of the scouting word on FSU this season?
You've used the word motivation a lot this year, and I think that the sense is there's a lot of talent. The Pat Paytons of the world, for example, the Daryl Jacksons, they have not necessarily brought it. I think Daryl Jackson's probably still looked at, I don't want to say highly, but he's going to be still a guy who's drafted in the mid rounds there, because you just don't find too many guys with that size and strength at that position. That's really what they're looking for. Offensively, there's not much there whatsoever. I think defensively, they definitely have dudes still. You mentioned Azareye'h Thomas in the secondary. He's someone who's still highly thought of. And Marvin Jones, for example, has the talent, hasn't necessarily shown it down in, down out. But to me, let's not count out that unit from having a strong day, right? And not sure they're very keen on their safeties and their linebackers, but pressure up front can change a lot. Miami offensive line's done a solid job this year, right? But that unit could make this game probably a little bit tighter than we would hope, right? So that's still a huge test. Josh Farmer, another one who's going to be probably a day 2, early day 3 pick. So I'm not sleeping on that defensive line. I think defensive line could cover up a lot of stuff here. And then look, do you look at the schedule for FSU and the results that they've had? They've been in a lot of tight games here. So yes, they're 1-6, but it could easily be a 4-3 team right now.
Listen, no question about that. But I think, young quarterback, it's like a different team that started the season, right? In terms of the youth at quarterback and a lot of other things, and just the mood of the team. So it'll be very interesting to see, like you said, just the motivation, especially if the Canes start hot. If they don't, it's a game and these guys are locked in. So it's the first half, I think, is going to be very key to this game, as far as it could go one direction or it could go a totally different direction, depending on what happens early and how FSU is able to build confidence, particularly in an offense that's been so maligned. Canes Cat 305. Why we're not at the baseball scrimmage? Well, I had the Miami Beach baseball little league practice, so that baseball practice took precedent. But I was there yesterday at the baseball scrimmage. Todd Hudson continues to mash, big 6'6" lefty, hit one to center. Brandon Agodi did some nice things at shortstop. Really like Ethan Puig as your backup catcher. I think he's the best. He's a young player switching from third base to catcher, true freshman. He looks like he might be Miami's catcher of the future. It's early, but he's really making a nice transition. So that's your baseball talk for the day. We're going to keep going all nonstop.
Stoney, appreciate the shout out, man, and shout out to the Miami Touchdown Club. Great time with you guys this week. Appreciate your support as always.
No, shout out to Stoney, great dude, great organization, the Touchdown Club. I know Mario's a big supporter; it's been around forever, and Stoney and everybody does a great job over there. Thor, the Giant Schnauzer, what's the recruiting impact from a Miami big win? I think just keeping the momentum. Again, the names I'm focused on, laser focused on: Vernell Brown, Dallas Wilson, Ben Hanks, Jarquez Carter, Shamar Arnaud. Those are the names I'm laser focused on as far as right now and the momentum that Miami has. Also, Kellen Wiley, a really talented linebacker at Armwood. We talked about him a ton as someone that Miami really likes at that linebacker position.
And 2026 class, Camden Portis potentially.
Yep,
popped in today, D.
Camden Portis is someone with good momentum. I know he's like saying it, but of course is a son of Clint Portis, but a very talented recruit in his own right. Certainly not like some kind of legacy where you're just offering somebody because of his dad. This guy's a 4-star corner, position in need, big time player that Miami is after. J.R. Barr's asking about the matchup between FSU D-line and Miami O-line. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I really think, again, watch the edges because Patrick Payton, Marvin Jones, they're not really having great pass rush seasons this year. Ruben Bain actually has more pressures than both of them in like a handful of games, really just 2 games. He has more pressures than both of them. So he is clearly a tier above pass rushing wise, but those guys can get to the passer if you let them. They're athletic. I think the key with them is, again, test their run defense because they're not stout, both just in terms of attitude and body type. They're long and angular. Ruben Bain, you look at him, man, he's bottom heavy. As much as he's a pass rusher, he's extremely powerful. You can't just run right at him. He'll shed the block and make a play, or at least hold his point. Payton and Jones are not like that, especially going against Miami's extremely talented and physical tackles. So that, to me, is the key matchup of this game. It's a pass blocking matchup and a run blocking matchup. I think pass blocking Miami is an advantage, but FSU can win a rep or two, and that could be dangerous, depending on how big the play is that these guys make. Run blocking, I think it's a huge, monstrous advantage for Miami with their tackles against FSU's edges, and that's really what I'm focused on.
Sean says, do you think Miami will handle the hype, lock in, and score heavy? I'm not worried about Miami scoring for the most part. I like I said, I'm a bit weary of the defensive line still, even though they have not had a great season. But you get a little pressure and force a turnover, and it changes the dynamic changes the dynamic of the game a little bit and puts a little bit of pressure. I want to see this defense come out against an offense that we know is limping into this game. Not much of a threat at the quarterback position with both of these guys, Brock Glenn and Luke Kromanoke. They haven't shown me enough to really be concerned about them, but we have seen all these performances by opposing quarterbacks against Miami. So it's really the defensive side of the ball that I'm looking at today. I want to see a clean game from them.
Yep. Got a couple questions here about the Solomon Thomas from Jose Sosa. I don't know if he's coming down to the game. I know it's not going to be on Miami's ticket. Miami's not going that direction with Solomon Thomas. I know there's interest initially. I talked about him as a potential target, but I'm told that right now there's really not interest there for Solomon Thomas. Shout out to Michael Rodriguez. Good day to you as well, sir. Someone's Champ 100 saying, I expect Norvell to run all reliable counter run. The biggest surprise with FSU this year, their run game is the worst in the country statistically. That doesn't mean they can't do something today. Now, Cam Davis, number 3, I believe, is out. Have they announced that yet officially, Pete, who's not playing today?
Let me see. And I don't know remember, it's not the NFL, so they don't have to announce anything. So we may not actually get anything from them. Let me see if anything's leaked out. I'm checking Twitter right now. I'm not seeing anything from their reporters. And honestly, I don't expect to get anything from Florida State. Definitely not from Florida State directly on that before the game. So
yeah, so we'll see on that. But I think
but let me tell you, D, from what I've seen from him this year, I don't know if he's necessarily an impact guy for this game, even if he is fully healthy.
But he's better than probably what they have. So I think the less they have, the more trouble they have in the running game. They already have the worst running game in the country. So it's tough to lose a good player like that, who at least a talented guy, 4-star guy with some ability.
And Clay Fink said the counter play has been absolutely terrible this year when we had him on the show earlier this week. So
the timing's not there. So Cafe 904, I saw Ashton Jeanty last night. He was good, not great. Had a lot of carries, 33 for 128 yards. It's funny. That's usually a pretty good day if you can get to 128 yards, even with that many carries. But Jeanty's having such an amazing season that's like a down game for him, and he doesn't have that much room for error being a G5 running back. Cam Ward, I think, has a clean road to the Heisman if he continues to have consistent performances, but that's not a guarantee. This is a big challenge. He's probably the best defensive backs he'll play all year, and FSU's pass rush is 20th in the nation in sack percentage. So, strong. Pete, here real quick before we get any further, it's breakfast with the Canes. So you know what that means. It is time to talk about the #1 Cuban restaurant in Miami. There's still time if you want to get some nice Cuban breakfast. You go to Islas Canarias Express right there in Dayland Mall, the best Cuban restaurant in Miami. They got locations in southwestern Miami, but also Dayland, centrally located right there in Dayland Mall in the dining pavilion. Just an unbelievable spot. The line is always pretty heavy because of the popularity, but it moves extremely fast without sacrificing quality. So the best of all worlds at Islas Canarias Express. Just an unbelievable new addition. The place keeps expanding. It was just a place out there, West Miami. Now it is it's in the Marlins game. You see the Croqueta County t-shirts that I wear available at croquetacounty.com. They're in Dayland. This place gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Again, it started out there 13695 Southwest 26th Street, all the way out there, and now they're mainstream. They're in Marlins Park, Lone Depot. They're in Dayland, and you can get the best croquetas in the world. Voted numerous times the best in Miami, which to me means best in the world. Islas Canarias, nothing better for Cuban breakfast, Cuban lunch, and Cuban dinner as you get ready for this big game at 7:30.
Michael Quinones with an interesting question. Add one player from last year's squad to this year. Who is it? Does it change the potential of this season? I mean, off the top of my head, Cam Kitchens. Even, he didn't have a great season last year, but we know what he's capable of. I don't know if it changes the potential of the season, quite frankly, D, because at the end of the day, gun to my head right now, this Miami team, I believe, is making the playoffs, right? And once you get to that point, I still think that the biggest thing holding them back is the size in the interior of the defensive line when you come up against some of these top teams in the country. As much as the secondary has been an issue this year, I don't know that adding Cam Kitchens to the safety room would be the thing that absolutely changes the entire defense around. Would it help? Without a doubt. But if we're talking about the playoffs, Final Four, and when you're at that level, I still think there's some room for improvement on this roster.
Yeah, I would agree with Kitchens as the pick. If I had to make another pick, here, I'll throw a curveball at you, which is Jaden Davis. He's somebody who was drafted last year, had a really good season. The transfer from Oklahoma, originally from St. Thomas. You slide him at nickel, which is where Miami really pushed hard to get somebody in the transfer portal. Now Daryl Porter plays outside. You have him and Frederic with good backups, Richard, Deani Hill, of course, Damari Brown when he comes back. I think you're in much better shape with Porter playing his most familiar position. Jaden Davis very comfortable in the nickel, and then Frederic on the outside. But look, that's not the reality. So you're going to see Porter playing a lot in the nickel. You're going to see Richard. You're going to see Frederic. You're going to see Deani Hill, and those guys got to play better.
Just Jay says Cam Kitchen and James Williams and his team and our issues are resolved. I don't know about that. Those guys were here the last couple seasons, and there were still a lot of issues back there. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree on that one. And then we got some Jaden Davis. He says would be perfect, and I agree. Super solid. Got a couple Matt Lees. I don't know that Zach Carpenter has been much of a fall off from Matt Lee there.
No, this is a tough match with Daryl Jackson. Just the size, I think, can give him some problems. And Farmer, who's really, really good, he's probably the best player in FSU's team. So this will be a tougher matchup than most for Carpenter. But he's got Cooper, he's got McCoy. I think he'll have some help. Again, I would really live on those edges and take advantage of what I consider a major mismatch in the run game.
D, before I have to hop off here in a minute, run a couple errands before head out there to the game, wanted to talk about Asset Dash, the only app you need in crypto. You see the QR code, scan to download Asset Dash, promo code Canes, all caps, for a free upgraded premium Asset Dash Gold membership, free for life. Asset Dash is the market-leading portfolio tracker and rewards program where you can do everything from tracking your investments, earning rewards, and now buying over 1,000 different cryptocurrencies on Solana natively through the app. You earn rewards in the app, and Asset Dash is giving away thousands of dollars a week. Download Asset Dash for all of your portfolio tracking needs, cryptos, NFTs, stocks. If you invest in something, Asset Dash supports it. D, I got to hop off here. Like I said, I have a couple things. I guess I got to go get some contact lenses, man. I won't be able to watch the game tonight if I don't go over there now. So
yeah, and I'll stick on. Any more questions, I'll keep answering. Pete will hop off. And we'll see him at the game and post game.
All right, everyone.
We're still on live for doing the post game right after the show. Pete, how we looking?
Yep, we're good. I'll get everything coordinated, but we will be we'll be ready. So
stay tuned for that. Hopefully, a victory celebration. Good luck on your errands, Pete.
All right, guys. Later.
All right, so let's see what other questions we have here. Real quick, Canes baseball, because Canes cat the Heath 305 always pushes it. Number one player overall in the nation's on a visit right now, Jacob Lombard. I saw him, said hi to his dad, talked to him for a second. I wouldn't expect him in college next year. He will be he'll probably be a pro, but good to have those kind of guys on campus. A lot of talk about James Williams versus Jaden Harris. One of the big things about this game is Zaquan Patterson, right? Is Zaquan Patterson going to step up? We know he's going to get more opportunities. Is he going to step up as a tackler, as a consistent presence, taking angles, being where he's supposed to be? Big test for him. Because if he can show that he's where he needs to be in this game, now there's going to be more trust heading into the playoffs. Not even another safety that's playable. This is the game. Patterson is going to play more, according to everything I've heard, everything that the Guidry said. Again, he's someone who's got here in spring, but it's been a process of getting up to the standard of a Miami safety in terms of just preparation and the way you attack every single day, and getting better at that. He's going to play a lot. I think his tackling is going to be a strength. He's not just a physical hitter. He's someone who breaks down wraps, and at least at the high school level and in practice here in college has been very consistent, had a really nice form tackle when he did get opportunities last week. So Zaquan Patterson's tackling is something that's going to be interesting to watch. Getting some questions here on Mark Fletcher, of course, continues to pray for Fletcher's family at the passing of his dad. Just a horrible situation, and just the worst part of this is hearing things like this. So can't imagine what Fletcher's going through, and our prayers are with him. But will he play or not? I don't know. Miami has running backs that can get the job done. If he can't, obviously, to me, Mark Fletcher is probably one of the best football players overall on the team. I'm a huge believer in his game, and he's also considered one of the best people on the team, one of the highest character guys, certainly one of the toughest guys, most physical, one of the smartest players on the team. So you want him on the field in a game like this, but look, with these situations, all bets are off. Every situation is different. Just hope for the best for him, and he does what he needs to do. And if he's on the field, the teammates support him and help him honor his dad and have a great game. And if he's not on the field, he hopes they step up. So I don't have more on that, other than just, again, continue to pray for his family, because he really is a really special player in person who's really, really beloved in that room. Let's see here. So question here, when the Canes get a lead, they need to protect it. No more allowing kickoff returns and fumbles, let the opponent back in the game. Yeah, it seemed like Miami, every chance they got to take over that Louisville game, build a nice lead, start running the ball and salting the clock, they didn't have a chance to do that. There would be a kick return or a fumble or something that would keep Louisville in it. Of course, Louisville's offense was very dynamic on its own. So that was certainly unfortunate. Miami, with this kind of offense for FSU, if they do get that kind of lead, it's going to be a much tougher game for FSU. FSU is going to want to keep it close with those young quarterbacks. They are not built to come from behind like Louisville is. Louisville has a very dynamic offense. They can play in that kind of game, not that much different than Miami. With our ability to play from a deficit, FSU is not that, with Brock Glenn, with Luke K, the young quarterbacks. So if Miami can get a lead, I think you could see FSU start to fold. But the flip side is true. If FSU comes out, gets a fumble, makes a sack on Ward, just gets in the game, they're going to be smelling blood, and it'll be an interesting game for a while. And I hope that's not the case. I'm cheering for something a lot more anticlimactic. There you go, my guy DEZ, Salt the Earth, did a little podcast with Mike Ryan, made a reference back to the Third Punic War, when Rome salted the earth, taking over the Carthaginians, making sure the Carthage never came back to glory. I'd love to see that with FSU. We're just beating them so bad. They can't recruit anybody. They can't convince anybody in the portal. They'll never win another battle against us again, because we just thoroughly embarrassed them. We beat them like that in 2020. They were still able to come back, so it wasn't a permanent beating. FSU returned the favor in 2022. Can Miami not only return the favor for 2022, but do something that lasts and has a permanence to it, and really puts a lot of pressure on Mike Norvell with his fan base, with his recruits, with his boosters, just creating a lot of disorder and chaos at FSU, which always is going to benefit Miami. Question to D: what is Miami seeing the other cornerback target not named Pickett or Hanks that is different from Tim Merritt? I don't know the difference between Tim Merritt. I can tell you with Arnaud, I heard they like his fluidity, they like his versatility to play corner and safety, they like his size. They think he had a really, really good senior season, or is having a really good senior season. I believe he was injured as a junior a little bit, so you weren't able to see everything he can do. So now the senior film is getting out, and he's getting interest from teams like Miami. So, really hope that Miami's able to evaluate him properly. They're going to see him in person, see how he's built, see how he acts, see his demeanor. Obviously, you have the film, but I think this is the first time Miami gets to size him up, and he gets to size Miami up. He'll be on a visit. I believe his dad's on the visit as well. So great opportunity to get to size each other up and make sure there's a fit. If there is a fit, Miami needs corners. I think they can take as many corners as they can fit because this is an extremely important position to the Miami Hurricanes. Charles King saying, "Don't take the high road. End their program tonight." Again, I think Mario, if he has given the chance, he's not going to take his foot off the pedal. He's going to continue to push, and it'll be a very, very fun game for the Canes. But you got to get that lead. First things first. I know Mario's not thinking about that blowout. I hope the team's not thinking about that blowout, and they're thinking about scoring that first touchdown, getting that first stop, and going from there, going 1-0. That really is the key to the game, is just staying locked in. The fan base, and I'm guilty as charged. I'm raising my hand. We're talking about blowouts. When's Emory Williams coming in, salt the earth, all this stuff. But the team just needs to be focused on whooping the men in front of them, executing their assignment, all the cliches that you could think of. The work and practice is done. Now it's about executing, playing physical, staying locked in, staying resilient if something doesn't go right initially, and letting the better team win, which they are if they execute. Just Jay, our defense isn't bad. The front seven is one of the best in the country. Teams have been taking advantage of the holes we already knew heading into the season with the secondary and fluke big plays. I wouldn't call them flukes when they're consistent like they've been. Miami's in the hundreds and 40-yard pass plays or 40-yard plays from scrimmage in general. You've seen long runs. You've seen long pass. You've seen long passes in the air. You've seen short passes that go long. So a lot of explosive plays that Miami's given up. Miami just needs to do a better job. Point is simple. Plain is simple. The linebackers need to do a better job. The defensive backs certainly need to communicate better. I think simplifying back there might help. And everybody's just got to tackle. That's just a prerequisite. Zaquan Patterson, let's see if he can tackle. High grade is a great question. Do we blitz heavily these experienced QBs? As much as I talk about playing it safe, letting our front four eat against this bad offensive line, protecting our secondary, their quarterbacks are very young and struggle under pressure. So the conventional wisdom, especially with Guidry, who likes to do this anyways, is bring a lot of pressure, confuse these guys, force them into mistakes. Miami has not been a great turnover team this year. Can this be the game where they really get it going, taking the ball away? FSU, of course, Brock Glenn turned it over, I think, 3 straight times against Duke, which has got to be some kind of record. Really cost them that game. Miami has better pass rush to disrupt Brock Glenn. Could that be something that we see here in the Rock? It's interesting. Do they risk the big play? I don't know if they trust. I don't know if they fear FSU enough to even worry about the big play. FSU has speed. They have guys that if you loft in a bomb, they can go to the distance. Jaylen Brown, Malik Benson, these are fast guys. Ja'Kai Douglas is pretty fast. Speed's not the problem, but play speed, quickness, change of direction, acceleration, not as strong as the straight line track speed. So if you can avoid that deep ball, that bomb that they just run under, I think you're going to have a great chance of stopping this passing game. And then the pass rush is a major mismatch with what FSU was trotting out of tackle, which is a position that FSU has a lot of injuries. Darius Washington unlikely to play, their best tackle, and they weren't good to start. Lack of power, lack of athleticism, lack of overall talent. Just not a lot of NFL guys. Shout out to Gio and Amon Richards, who wants smoke. Saw Gio yesterday. Obviously, Amon Richards always does a great job. Those guys are kicking butt and doing a lot of great things. So shout out to those guys. Eldridge Primus says he wants to see how our defense meets the challenge. It's time for our defense to step up. Look, you're playing one of the worst offenses in the country. I think you're second statistically only to Houston in most metrics. So they got to dominate this. It's a perfect bounce back opponent, but they're not going to lay down. They're coming to score and ruin Miami's season. So can the defense step up against an opponent where they should have an advantage? If they don't, this is when you really start to feel a little bit of concern because this is not a good offense. Louisville was a good offense. They presented problems. Miami didn't do a great job stopping it, but Louisville was good. They moved the ball on Notre Dame. They had some mistakes there that allowed them, that prevented them from scoring as much as they could have for how they moved the ball here. They were able to make the plays on fourth down to save drives, which again, Notre Dame, they made mistakes. So that was why they scored more against us. But that Louisville's a good offense. They can score. This is not a good FSU offense. Miami needs to really, really shut this offense down and make a statement in this game. There are absolutely no excuses, and I know they know that. Appreciate you, High Grade. Like and subscribe to this podcast. I'm so bad at saying it. We got 821 people on. Well, just click that like button, click that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We come every day. We do these daily these pop-up shows for game days, post-game, instant reacts to commits or big news. So like and subscribe. You won't miss anything. You will have Cane content more than you can keep up with, and we'll give you the absolute latest and the most exclusive recruiting info there is, talking directly to folks and try to get your questions answered to the best of our ability. We push it as much as we can without hurting the team. But I know there's a lot of momentum with Miami's recruiting right now, a lot of optimism. I wish I could say everything I knew, but I feel good about where we're at. Good day today would be huge towards Miami getting closer to that top 5 class. A lot of talented guys watching this game, both in visiting and that are not visiting, or they may be visiting secretly. We'll see. See, keep your eyes peeled when you go to the stadium. Jonathan CWO says FSU can only move the ball when teams didn't pressure. It's it's a great point. And again, the conventional wisdom is you blitz the young quarterback. Miami has Ruben Bain, who's such a monster that front four should be able to generate a lot of pressure on its own with Barron and Bain, given that FSU's not going to have their starting left tackle. Their tackles have struggled all year. That should be a situation where Miami can get significant pressure with just the front four. But, bad offensive lines, you like to blitz those guys too because their communication can struggle. You can get free blitzers and really make explosive plays, either negative plays, field position, or causing Brock Lent to throw it up or fumble or something like that. Luke Cage, true freshman, you could really cause him some problems. They don't have really good receivers to bail them out. My really only worry with their receivers are just that deep ball because these guys all have legitimate speed. They're all 4.4 guys legit. They don't play to it necessarily because they don't have the change of direction. They don't have the athleticism, the acceleration. They don't have the play strength. But just running in a straight line, running under a ball, they can do that. So you don't want to get in those situations. Keynes Jones, thanks to Mario. Tightens the bench. I think it'll go the other way. I think if the game's going well, not even a blowout, if the game's just going well and there's no craziness going on, I think you could see younger players play sooner than later, especially with the recruits in attendance, but also just getting those guys ready to go. Names that are really knocking on the door for playing time: Nikar, JoJo Trader, Armando Blunt, Justin Scott. Those 4 guys really jump out as guys that are ready to play. Of your opinion, what are the odds of Miami shutting out FSU? I mean, better than they'll ever be, probably. This is probably the worst offense Miami will ever face from FSU. They're really, really botting them out. You're not going to get a bad offense like this every year. Even next year, they should get at least marginally better. This is as bad as they're going to get. So if it's going to happen, this has got to be the one. Justin J said, as obviously our defense was elite last year, you all cry like we were supposed to be some dominant Saban Bama defense. I think it's fair to be upset about some of the mental stuff, some of the tackling stuff, some of the controllable stuff. These aren't 4-star or these aren't first round corners, 5-star corners all over the secondary or safeties that have a lot of acclaim. So that's the reality of the situation. But there's things you can control as far as eye discipline, as far as tackling, as far as just being in the right place. Those are things that you think these guys would be able to control because they're all really smart guys. I don't think we lack IQ in the secondary. Just for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked back there. There's still a lot of time to get that going. I don't think you're going to ever see a dominant unit back there just the lack of those first-round talents that you see at Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Clemson, teams like that. But I do think that you could play better than they could play better than they play now, and obviously that's going to be their goal, and they've been working hard in practice to get to that point. Asad Hussein, what part of the stadium is the Hurricane Walk? It's the black lot, right? Someone in the comments, let me know. I know where it is visually, but I don't know how to explain it to somebody. So somebody help out Asad Hussein in the comments. We'll tell them where the Hurricane Walk is. I'm curious to see who wears the Ulafala, the Mauanoa brothers. They wear the tribal chief Ulafala. WWE fans know what I'm talking about. It kind of alternates between who's playing better that week. My guess, based on last week, Francis Mauanoa might be rocking up the tribal chief Ulafala, but that's always cool. I always point out to my kids when I see him in the cane walk, hey, there's the Roman Reigns Ulafala right there, the tribal chief. So just very cool to have these different cultures on the team. Can't get enough Polynesians, man. I'm excited to get CJ Alfatuli on campus next year. Those guys can ball, and I think a big game for both of those guys. Francisco Mauanoa is a blitzer, trying to really cause havoc for these young quarterbacks coming straight out the middle, right through those A-gaps, which he loves to do, and he's able to finish when he gets there. And then, of course, Francis Mauanoa, we talked about that matchup at right tackle. He's my projected player of the game because I do think he's going to dominate, whether it's Peyton or Marvin Jones or whatever defensive end is in front of him. I think he's going to punish him. J.R. Barr, how's Sampson's development? He's coming along. Every time I ask about him, the word is he's going to be a good player. I would say the guy that's really rocketed up is Markel Bell. I think he's playing a lot better than he gets credit for. He's got beat a couple times. That sticks out in people's mind. That's part of the growing process as a JUCO player that, had no offers out of high school. So he's a raw player, but man, he's developing at a super fast rate. And the good reps are numbering the bad reps every single week in a higher ratio, and the good reps are completely dominant, man. This guy's 6'8", almost, heavy, but not fat, moves extremely well, very, very smart, trustworthy. Johnny Lagoon, shout out, chat regular. I think we're going to see a ton of backup alignment today in the next few weeks. I mean, I hope so. That means things are going well. Hopefully they're not playing for injured guys, but it would be good to get some of those guys some rest. The Frankie Tinalaus, the Tommy Kinslers, that would be a great thing, but you got to take care of business, man. You got to handle this FSU. I mean, we could talk like this because we're fans, but I really hope the team's not talking like this, and the coaches aren't. I know they're not. So, we'll see how those guys go. But I feel good about the Canes. I think it's going to be a great game. If you see me out there with the Canes Inside shirt, don't hesitate. Say what's up. Always love to see you guys. And it's going to be a fun one, man. So go Canes. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast. If you want to follow on game day, especially if you're out of town, canesinsight.com, 7 million posts and counting. I feel like millions of those are on game days of people just venting and going up and down with every single play. It's always fun to follow along in the game day thread there. Again, all free. Huge, huge activity. I mean, we'll have a million hits today, of just people clicking. And I don't mean that figuratively. I mean about 1 million hits of people just clicking, refreshing, communicating with fellow Canes fans that aren't able to make it out to the game, or that are just talking about the game in the lead up before they head out to Hard Rock. So again, appreciate everybody. Like and subscribe to this podcast. Go Canes.